Hello, I'm Shadow of Shadow Gaming, bringing you episode 12 of Programming with Shadow. Today we're going to be talking about inheritance. As we get started, I'll just mention, as I was updating .NET versions, I accidentally got 9. I'm going to leave 9, leave, leave 9 intact, and who knows, we may look into the features in the future, but for now we're just going to have both. Um, there we go. There's the command to update your version. You'd switch it to 8. I used 9 because I thought I had 9, but then I was looking, I was like, oh, we were. So there's how to update your .NET version is that command. You need that. Just keep that in mind. You can also find that on the .NET SDK page. Oh, terminal just froze up. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get started and see if we come back. So, what we're going to talk about today is inheritance. So, inheritance is the idea of you have some object. So, we've been talking about object oriented programming. So, the idea is we have an object, and we have an object that inherits from it. So, an object's a way of having collection of data and actions, methods, the properties and methods. And the idea of inheritance is that you inherit certain of those methods. And in fact, you can control it and adjust behavior, things like that. We'll, over the next few lessons, start learning more about this, see how it's used. One caveat I'll give with inheritance, there are a lot of times when you want to use inheritance, actually cleaner solutions that actually use composition. So make something, say it's composed of something, rather than is something. That's how you'll see in the documentation. Or aggregation and composition is a lot of times it's like an object has a something, has some kind of has another object. With inheritance, you'll see it as an object is a, so object is another object. So the idea, a real common example is say you have an object shape and maybe it has a method for calculate area, calculate parameter. There we go. And then you would inherit from that, and then you could have a circle. And then the circle inherits it and makes those calculations itself. The rectangle does it itself, and so forth. And that's the idea of inheritance. We're going to do a little example today. Is how we're going to go about it. We're going to create a little fantasy RPG kind of style battle thing. I'm calling it Inheritance Fantasy Character Sim. If my terminal would work, try that. So let's begin. So I'm going to start just like before. I'm going to come over here and do new file. And we're going to call this character.cs. Let's make us a class. Knock off that pop-up. Let's do public class character. Let's see. Have a name. So public string name. Get set. Those spaces are invisible. Let's see if we can do prop. No. I think I'm lagging too much. There we go. Prop. So now I can just use tab to navigate over to this and HP. So that's just called a snippet, and it's just with the extension we installed last time. Of course, it's the C#, one of these two. It gives you a couple snippets. Prop is for property. It just creates you this. Let's do one more prop. We may do more than one more, I'm not sure, but for now I'm just going to do one more. Let's do attack. Look at another snippet. Another one we might see is CTOR, Structor. It gives you the parameters here. Let's do string name, int HP, and int attack. So this is a parameterized constructor. So what we're using this for is to set the values here. And so when we create it, we'll set the power, or set the name, set the hit points, and set the attack power. If we can quit lag. So now we're going to learn something new. Let's add a method for attack. Public void attack character, and we'll so up to this far we haven't seen anything new yet. Do a console. Let's do see if we can do C double. Yeah. I'll put system. I don't want system there. So console.writeLine. Let's do name attacks target.name for attack power damage. And then target, here's another method we're going to do. This method and we'll do HP minus equal amount. This is not going to be a full simulation. Like, we're playing around. We'll see how far we can get, what we can make it do. So takes amount, damage, HP left. Let's do that. So there we go. There's just a little starting point. What we've done here is we've made a character class. So as a reminder, a class is basically a blueprint. It lets you create objects. So we can create character objects from this class. So this is a blueprint, and it tells us what the data the class has, how to construct the class, and then what methods it can, what it can do. That's sort of a recap on where we've been before. So we're going to learn a new keyword here, though. We're going to say virtual. So virtual lets you work with inheritance. So it says anything that inherits from character here, I can change the virtual method. So anything that's not virtual, I can't change. Like anything that inherits will be able to use this one, and they'll be able to take damage, but they won't be able to change it. Virtual says, okay, you can use mine if you want, or if you don't want to, you can update it. That's what we're going to do. Another thing that comes into play with inheritance is these modifiers. So far, everything that I've done has been static or public. Static isn't the same thing. I could add static here, and it would technically be valid, but it's not going to do what we want it to do here. So we're going to leave that off. So static isn't really an access modifier. The access modifiers are public, private, protected, internal. There are possibly others, and there are some combinations like private, protected, I think. But for our purposes today, we're going to stick with public, but that's where you'll start seeing them, and in the upcoming lessons, we'll start using these a little more. Public just means anybody can use this. Protected means only ones that inherit from this can. And private means only this one can. Internal's a little odd. It means only ones in the same in the same CS project, basically in the same project, I guess. We'll, like I said, we'll look at those in more depth later. Now, this, let's let's inherit and make a customized character. So the first character I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this in the same file. I may want to change that later and pull these out the separate files, but we can do that later if I want to. I'm going to do public class warrior. So here's how you inherit in C#. A colon, and then what you're inheriting from. You can only inherit from one thing at a time, like you can't have another inheritance here. You might see this occasionally where there is a comma and something else here. That is not inheritance. Only the first one, only one of them can actually be the inheritance. I think it's be the first one. We can test that in the future. The reason is if you inherit from multiple ones, then you're like, who do you inherit from? Like, say you have a character 1 and a character 2 and they both have a virtual attack. Which attack do you use? And rather than try to figure that out and make some kind of hierarchy, don't allow it to do multiple ones. Let's do warrior. So one thing we'll need to do is we'll need to customize the constructor. It didn't. It should be warrior. But it didn't get that one right. String name. Here's something else. Something new. Base. I said in name 120 and 15. So looking at this is a constructor, a parameterized constructor that takes in name. And what this says is it passes it to the base. So the base here is what you're inheriting from, so character. It passes it to the character's constructor. Damage for so passes it to the character constructor, then passes the new damage and new attack, or new HP and attack power. In doing that, we've now created a warrior, which is basically a character, but we're going to do just a little bit of difference. Here's something you might not have seen. You are required to have the open and close braces. They just don't have to do anything. You might see them written like this as well. This is how I actually seen it a lot with them. They're empty is just to do something like that. So let's take this attack and let's it. So we're going to do public. Here's a new keyword again. Override. So override says take a virtual method and change it. And you can see here there's actually a few options. These 3 are default. So almost everything can override these. They're coming from the object. In C#, everything comes from the object class. Well, not everything. Most things come from object. And as such, we get these 3 overrideable methods. You can also override this one, though, and this is errors. You can see here Visual Studio's got them highlighted a different color. So we'll override that. Public, override void, and attack, character, and target. Notice it's still character. It's not warrior. That's intentional because it needs the match for one. And as we're going to see, doing this, it lets us put a warrior in there instead of having to do a character. If we just said warrior here, we could only take other warriors, but doing this way, anything else that inherits from character, we're going to be able to put that in there as well. So it did base.attack target. That's not what we want to do. We want to customize. Do we? Yeah, I think we want to customize a little bit. Let's do right line. We'll do name. Name. They have a sword. Now I may actually want to do base.attack. What this is saying is, alright, add this new message. That's the warrior swings a sword at the target. Then the warrior attacks the target for so much damage. Takes the damage. Based on attacks is call the base attack method. Go back up here and say write this message, and then go back up here and write this message, and then actually do the damage. I think that's what I want to do. I'll have to think on that a little bit, but I believe that's what it works. Let's do another one. Let's say we have an archer as well. Archer will have a say it's slightly different. Note, you can have an inheritance hierarchy too. You don't have to just have a character and then each thing. You could have a more specialized character or a warrior if you wanted to. In this case, archer. I'm going to say archer's not a warrior for my purposes here, but you could do that if you wanted. Let's do. See if Seator gets it right this time. I bet it doesn't. It does not. So if you're actually using Visual Studio or Rider, some of the more advanced IDEs, they'll figure that one out for you. But apparently VS Code here is big. So we'll pass in string name, base. We'll pass in name to the base. Let's say it has less HP. Let's say 80. I'm not balancing this or anything. I'm just trying stuff. So we said the warrior has 15. Let's say this one has 24. And I'm not trying anything major, just setting values. Let's do public override. Override. There we go. Back. So let's say the same thing. Or not the same thing, but we'll do the same thing we did above. Shoots an arrow. Nine. To put the quotation marks. There we go. So now we've overrode attack, something like that. So what we should see here is that it'll say the same thing here. Let's go test this before we continue. Back over here and I don't want to leave that, but okay, back over at program. Let's clear up the default. Let's make an array of characters. We'll use the new array syntax here. Let's do new warrior. Say give us a name. I don't think of a warrior from something, but I haven't given myself a good example. Here we'll say Aragorn. We'll use Lord of the Rings here. So Archer has to be Legolas. I don't want to spell it. Then I am. We go last. Yeah, makes sense. I should have been able to sound that out. There we go, though. There's just two characters. May need data set dwarf here in a minute. I want to change Aragorn to Swordsman and use Gimli as a switch it to that. We'll think through that. Let's give us an enemy. Let's say we have a orc. So here, what we would actually probably do, we could inherit it and make a orc class or whatever. You can also just use the character itself. Sorry about that. Sneezed. We can use the character here. Let's say orc. Orc has maybe 150 HP, and I don't remember what I gave warriors attack power. There we go. We'll say this again. Or this is one way you can do it. You can actually omit this if you want. I'm gonna leave it in for now, but just know in the future I'll probably be omitting. Let's do a simulated battle here. Let's say we're gonna need some way to tell when the battle's over. Let's do a private method. So this will be a local function. Again, we're going to use static here. This is the case I actually static for. Then character array. That's in character enemy. Private. Private is not valid. Okay. I'll revert. Static full. There we go. Forgot to actually put what I'm doing. So let's do this. This isn't the most efficient way I could do this, but this is what we're going to do for now. I less than characters.length. Let's do full return value equal false. We'll say we're assuming the fight isn't finished yet. But if do I want to do it, let's assume it's true. So if it's so we'll assume it's true. Now we want to say character at I dot HP less than or equal to 0. Return value if it stays true, and we break. So we'll get out of the loop. Wait a minute. Does this do what I want? Wait a minute. Um, I clearly haven't thought this through, so let's do false here. Let's do the continue. Greater than 0. We continue. Else, if we get down here, break. We'll do this. So now, if return value return true. So there, if one of the or if all the characters are defeated, no, that's still not going to do it. Yeah, I should have thought through what I wanted to do here first. So let's talk it through. So what I want is if either one of or if any of the characters in the character list are defeated, I want it to keep going. But if they're all defeated, we're done. Let's do a second method. Let's do this. So do a static bool all is team defeated. Let's do it like this. If the team is defeated, so if team defeated, if that's true, we return true. So the fight's finished. Else, and we're not going to do the else. If make this method else if enemy HP less than equal to 0, true, false. So there we go. This is what I want to do. I just need to implement the all method now. So here, if the team is defeated, we're done. If the enemy's defeated, we're also done. If so, let's see. How do we tell this? So for this, we'll go through the list, and if no character is still alive, we're done. So bool is any left do so do any still have HP, and we're going to assume that they don't. Now do a for int I equals 0, I listed characters dot length I plus plus. So if characters at I dot HP greater than 0, if it's greater than 0, then any still have HP equals true. And then we can break because we're done, because one of them is still alive. So return do any HP. There we go. That's what we'll want to do. Well, it is actually not. So one thing I need to consider here, and we can probably optimize this, is I need to do this inverted. That gets us what we want. So can we fix this? We don't have to do it inverted. Let's see. Yeah, we can just do this. So instead of doing this, if any of them don't have that case, we'll just return false here. Else we return true. Then we don't need the variable. So now we go. So now is the team defeated. So we go through the list. If we find any character that has more than 0 HP, then we return false. The team is not defeated. Else we return true. And that's what I should have thought of from the first. That is not what I thought of, but that's what I should have. So now we got is fight finished. Now let's continue with our program up here. Now while Fight finished. So that should return true when it's done. So let's say while not finished. That's in characters and enemy. Who knows? We might want it in the future to update so there's more. That'll be part of the simulation. This could be extended if we want. We're just trying to see inheritance. Now let's do. So we're just going to do turn based. So we'll say. For now, I'm just going to say 4 and I equals 0. I less than characters dot length plus now characters at I dot back orc. So if I want to do orc dot HP less than or equal to 0. I'm not sure this is what I want. So this seems like I'm repeating what I'm is defeated. Orc. And we'll break for that. That doesn't check the characters defeated. So let's say we do that. Let's do instead. So if that is finished, and again, I don't like this, I'm doing the check full time. Might try to fix that, but if the fight's finished, then if orc dot HP is less than or equal to 0, then we can do this. Team was defeated. That's the bad ending. So there we go. I think this will do what I want. If the terminal is actually on. Okay. .net run. Let's see what happens. Let's see if I forgot semicolons or something as well. I guess I need the break here, so yeah, there is a bug. So this will fail because of that bug. Well, we should hit the other case actually. And notice a nice optimization. You can pull out the break here and just do the break on the next line. Not a nice optimization, but I think it looks. If the restore will finish. There we go. The orc is defeated. And I guess the orc not being able to attack probably affects that. Let's fix that. Break. So here. And we just want to repeat this. So that's a pain. So what I need to do is be able to pick a target and actually have to go through and actually do the logic here to pick a target. Instead, let's do this. What do I want to do that? Let's do int enemy target equals pick target characters. So it's not going to be able to attack one that's already defeated, so we need to consider that. So in here we'll do characters enemy. To check this. So pick target here. We're not going to make this in the all that incredible move. Static int pick target. Just need characters. So for int I equals 0, I less than characters dot length plus. So if characters at I dot HP greater than 0, return I. So there we go. Return -1. So there, if it gets -1, it's an error condition. That is what. So let's do this. So if enemy target equals -1, throw new exception. No members of the team remain. And by this check here, we shouldn't have to worry about that. Maybe since we double duplicate that, let's pull that out as well. Do one more. Do a static. We can't because of the break. Never mind. I mean, we could, but we'd have to think about it. I don't. We'll leave this for now. That's not going to be the point of this exercise. Going to see here that we've actually inherited something. Maybe. Possibly, if any day now. Or not. I don't know why it's running so slow, but this should do what I think I'm wanting. There we go. There, it starts doing damage. A lot of damage. There. Aragorn attacks the orc. Takes 15 damage. Orc attacks Aragorn. Aragorn takes orc. I probably don't want it to do that. That's probably not exactly what I wanted. I think I wanted it to do all of the turns, and then the orc got a turn, I guess. So instead of doing this, yeah, probably wanted this moved out. So this up a layer. Now it messed up all my spacing. I think this will be what I want. Now all the characters take their turn, and orc takes it. There is a bug. The point of this was to see the inheritance, and we can see that though. We can see here that we get the different messages. You see the Gogo shoots the arrow, swings the sword. That's what we wanted to see here. Aragorn attacks, orc takes damage. Legolas attacks, orc takes damage. Orc attacks, Aragorn takes damage. It repeats that until one of them's. Eh, still one more. The I would want to address this now because I do need to do that. I'm not going to now, but the way I would address this is I would the way I would address this, I'd pull this out to the method that also returns true or false, and if it's true, or I would break. So break there. Yeah, maybe a is fight finish bull that, or maybe a display end of fight and true if it succeeded, something like that. I'm not going to do that for now. We're going to continue on, but could do that if I wanted to. So yeah, let's see. Let's add let's take the warrior here and let's do F2. Rename it swordsman. We'll treat it as our change it over here. Let's add one more. Let's add an actual warrior now. So I'm going to say warrior has the axe. Warrior string name. The same thing as before. We're going to pass in a name. Let's say the as probably as higher. I'm not sure. I'm going to say it has, for my example here, I'm going to say it has 150 HP, but only, well, Gimli won't like it, but have to deal with it. Copy this. Copy. So let's do raises an axe. There we go. We'll take that. So there we go. Now we got us another one, so we could add new warrior. Right. Hope it's on high. All right. So now if we do the simulation though, we've added another warrior, and it has all the take damage code and everything in it, but it's done it by inheritance. Because without inheritance, each one of these would need to be overriding this, because you see each of them have HP, attack power, names. So each of them have all those attributes, but they're not actually there, and we're getting them by inheritance. Also getting the take damage method here. There's a bunch of attacks. Orc is defeated twice. Yeah. I'll think about that. We'll say it's a bug because what is happening is I'm going to ignore it for now because we're about out of time, and I want to do one more Let's do reason I want to do wizard. We're gonna say it has mana. I don't think Lord of the Rings has anything like that. Soft magic. We're gonna say it does for my example here. Just because I want to give something that's not in the base class. Public int mana. Get set. Let's set a default value. Let's say 30. So let's do string name, base name, the about 80 attack power, but then 80 HP, but 30 attack power. That'll do. Go. So let's do it. Make an adjustment here. If, let's say, mana has to be above 10. 10 or equal. There we go. Let's do smell. There we go. Mana minus equals 10. So base dot attack. We can do this. We can leave it like this. Else. Name is out of mana. Uses do raises staff instead. There we go. So staff, let's do now that's still doing do as much damage. That's not what I want. Yeah, we're gonna leave it as this. I would probably want the staff to do less damage, but right now it's gonna do the same amount, so there's no reason to use fireball. But yeah, so we'll stop with that. Let's just go over and use this now real quick. Let's do Gandalf. No way we seen that name coming. So there. Now we've did one more inheritance. So we've got some bugs. It's going to print Orc is defeated twice. Got a little problem here. I would like to adjust the damage here. Probably pass in the attack and how much damage they're doing, maybe something. But for now, this is a decent starting point, and it at least shows what I wanted to show. So there we go. Did a lot of damage. Let's do one more thing. Let's make, instead of Orc, Sauron. Just to see that the team can be defeated. Here we go. Let's see if I bugged that implementation. As you can see though, as you're brainstorming through ideas, it gets really easy to add stuff, but it gets really easy to get a bug as well, because that's a bug and that's a completely handleable. That's easily handleable. So I could not going. But here's the battle. There's Sauron walked the party, I think. Looks like it. Oh, there we go. Team was defeated, yes. Took a little longer than I expected, but oh, I know what the problem is. We don't check here if the character's defeated, so there is another bug. We could fix that pretty easy. Let's do if characters HP less than or equal to 0, continue. 0, continue. So there, fix that one real quick. So there's just a really quick battle simulation though, and that doing testing inheritance. Who knows, may actually make this an actual project and actually work on actually doing something with this little, maybe different characters, but maybe making a little more advanced. There you go, much quicker. So what I could do would be could add I could add weapons, add more types, could fix these bugs, could adjust the wizard handling maybe. Like could add items. Like there's all kinds of things you could do to extend this if I wanted to. Could add status effect like turn someone gets poisoned, poison builds up or something. Could add critical hits. So that could actually be a good one because then we could see how to do randomness in the program. We haven't seen that yet. All kinds of things that we could try and mess with. But for now, that's gonna be the good stopping point. So what we've seen today is inheritance in a very basic form. Um, oh, let's look at one more thing actually. So do character. So here, Saran here. Change it back to work. I don't remember what attack power I gave it. So let's say 150 HP and attack power. That may have been what I had before. I don't remember. So orc dot mana. See, it's not actually there. It does not contain a definition, or it's not found. So let's do character equals new wizard. This doesn't matter, but I'm just gonna look at this. Here, wizard should have mana, right? But it doesn't. It contains no definition. It contains no definition, even though it's a wizard. It doesn't contain that. What's happening there is character doesn't know about it. If I switch this to wizard, then it does. See, now we're not getting the error here. That's one thing we'll learn more about. There's an error, but it's semicolon. So that's one thing we'll look more into, though, is that how to deal with different things being in one place but not another. You remember casting from earlier. That's what's going to come back up. I'll learn more about it in the future. But there's inheritance. Let's get rid of that. So the idea here is we've inherited and we've extended. So wizard's a character, but wizard has more something that the other characters don't. We also looked at how we can override things. So each one of our different members that inherit from a character, they're able to override the attack here and do something different. Like wizard's able to cast a fireball or run out of mana and use the staff instead. We looked at base. Base, as we've said, refers back to the type you're inheriting from, your base type. And it lets you say, okay, do base's attack. That just lets us do the same, the this message here for everybody. Everyone gets the message. Also a constructor, we create, we do any kind of setup we need. Like maybe we want to set the mana here, like do that. Mana. Then we would actually have something here in the braces, and we could say equals mana. Now, notice that actually works here. Here, let's say 30. There we go. That's equivalent to what we have here. Then we would actually probably 30 because we're. But yeah, you could do something like that. That gives you something to do in the braces if you want. But that lets us set special property here on Wizard that nothing else has. Everything else is a little more basic. It's just called a constructor, which we customize, and then a attack method. And all that's possible by the virtual method. Virtual just lets you override something. So there, one of the polymorphisms, we'll talk about that more a little next time, but there's 3 types of polymorphism. One of them's coming in play here to allow us to override things. So yeah, so that's a very brief intro to inheritance, and hopefully next time we'll be able to continue on a little further. Who knows, we may even try to end this a little more and play around with it a little more. So I'm gonna call it there. So thanks for watching. Wonderful day.